Good evening. Hello. Welcome to the SAP IP Business Talks. And I'm very happy that we are back after a 3-week break. We are back with our topic IP business development, IP awareness building for IP, LinkedIn, social media. That is what we did in a big study. And we invite now awareness building people, business development people, for example, from law firms. And today I'm very happy that Stefan Rautenberg is with me. Stefan is head of business development in a big law firm, Hoffmann and Eitle. And first of all, Stefan, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us this evening, this
Thanks for having
afternoon.
me.
Please explain us, how did you came into the field of IP? I mean, no little boy wakes up in the morning and says, I want to become an IP guy. So that is a very strange field for most of the people out there. So there is typically a story behind that, how you came into that field, and you have a big background, a long background at service providers. So tell us your story. What is your story to come to IP?
Happy to do that. I think my strength has always been to listen carefully and to explain a subject that was rather complex in simple words, and this led me to sales really. So I think I was sales by nature, and had my early successes even during my studies. Was cold calling campaigns, and really difficult but fun, because I realized that with every call that I did, I learned from the experiences that I made and could use them for the next call. So it was a completely different industry. And after my studies, I started. That was new economy times at an internet startup. This one went south, and then I looked. These were the times when you were still looking for job adverts in newspapers, and I found one in the Süddeutsche Zeitung. In fact, it was my wife that found it, and she introduced it to me. And it was a little startup company from London, Mindsoft, and many people that listen to the call now would know it. Back then, it was an agent for Questel Orbit, and they were offering this host platform for searching, and they also rendered a database, or started to render a database called PetBase, that is now very successful. And that was 2002, and I started in my home office in Munich, and I didn't have a clue about like all the background of intellectual property. And Anne Chapman was back then a nice mentor. She trained me on the subject, and
Okay.
with Raman Hyatt in sales, that was a strong person to also train me how to position services. I had about 2 years with them and moved on to CPA Global afterwards, mostly known for their annuity service. I was responsible for software then, very complex, I felt, corporate software, the Memotech system. And I met Franck Lancienne. He's now in a project here at Hoffmann Eitle to bring to life our Fit for Future program. And I met him there about 20 years ago, really, we realized now. So there's a
Okay.
long history. I was then working with the French guys. The company was run by British. I was German, so it was really all over Europe.
A
And
European project.
my say again.
A European project.
Definitely, and you would challenge that French software would really get traction in the German market, but it did. We had some nice clients that we could win with the software, and there I really understood everything about intellectual property, like from the first invention that was submitted over the German inventor remuneration law, and then the first filing from a corporate IP department over to foreign filings. And that was eye-opening to speak with all these industry prospects and clients and understand their needs, and position this web-based software. I did that surely for
Which
about
was
8
also
years.
new in that time, right? So
Say
a
again?
web-based software was something really new. So
Definitely.
I remember to the discussions about what is the cloud and why I'm not getting a box with a CD-ROM in it. So what
Yeah,
is ownership of
yeah,
software? Lots of discussions, yeah,
yeah.
which are simply gone. Nobody takes care about that
Yeah.
anymore.
True. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe the CD-ROMs were all gone, so now you needed to put it on the. No, it was really the IP departments really drove it. They wanted. They didn't want to maintain these awkward IP management software and have it installed on a server in-house, and then new releases, uh, uh, upgrades, and all the client PCs would need to be updated. So this is the time when web-based software really got traction. Yep, and I had some further positions then with Denemeyer, which is maybe also worth mentioning because that was the first contact with an IP law firm. Really, Denemeyer is not really widely known for their IP legal services. They have a patent practice and also trademark. It stemmed from Luxembourg and is already, I think, it's from the 60s when they were founded by John Denemeyer. But they learned over time that the annuities business was more profitable, and they grew out of the legal services and became really an annuities provider. But back then, we also positioned IP legal services. I had a global role then and had a sales team of about 40 staff. Really nice team. Was a great time. We grew the business from 240 staff to over 800 staff in about 7 years. And well, the it was difficult to position Denemeyer and Associates really in the market because it's all about reputation and name and quality. And I do believe, and now I close the loop, that this is really the strength of Hoffmann Eitler. It's a well-reputed IP firm, offers really highest quality services, and I don't want to sound too salesy now, but it is well known in the market, which makes it so much easier to position the firm as a partner, as a strong partner for corporations around the world, really. And this is where we stand now. So it is a lovely spot that I'm in now, and the title is, by the way, called Director of Business Development. And what it states, or what it should say, is that I'm working together with the partners and attorneys, patent attorneys, trademark lawyers of Hoffmann Eitler, and generate awareness, not around IP, obviously. This is their strength and their expertise, but around commercial aspects of our business, and provide market insights, help them better understand how we are positioned at a client, and whether there is competing IP firms that are also providing services, and whether our development has been positive or rather stagnant, or really going in the right direction.
Yeah. So
And
obviously it's
obviously,
a
yeah.
business, right?
Say
I
again.
mean, it's a business. That is the
It's a
most
business.
important thing. It's a business, and that means
Mm.
that basically also the IP world should behave in a business orientated manner. I mean, that sounds so simple, but
Mm.
quite often when I'm talking with my students who are in the master class, they are IP experts, typically patent attorneys, trademark attorneys with at least 3 years of experience. And when I'm starting to talk about the IP business, sometimes they stare at me and say, what? I mean, this is the legal system, and we have to take care for the rights of our clients, and now you come and say this is just a business." And I said, no, it's not just a business, but business.
Yeah, true. I mean, there are commercial aspects to it, and I mean, we charge hourly rates. We charge for our for our administrative services, and in the end, it should pay our salaries, and
That's it.
therefore, uh, I do think there were times for IP law firms where they didn't need to look at the commercial aspects too much, and this is a sign that it is going very well. But I think these times also they are challenged mostly by service providers that offer services like maybe standardized services, not really all built around clients, but they have scalable, they identify scalable services, they standardize them, and this is the time where IP law firms need to be aware that their position is challenged here and there. There are still
Absolutely.
areas where the service providers cannot compete. But for other services, let's say the annuity service, which was part of the business from IP practices, this one is mostly gone, and service providers render it for their clients.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean that leads us to this kind of new work where we are now. So we see
Mm.
that service providers they are digital for a long time, and they, as you said, the logic of scalability of business that comes from them in this branch and takes business away from the lawyers. On the other hand, we have social media, which is a reality and which won't go away, and we have this change due to Corona, the way how people interact with each other. And yeah, what I wanted to mention to the audience, I forgot that in the introduction. So when you have any questions, comments, write it here in the chat. We can see that, and I will pick it up and we'll integrate that in our discussion. Just to mention, so we are happy when you ask questions or writing comments for us. So coming back to the social media phenomenon, also for the IP world. So we made a study across Europe with IP experts, and we learned, for example, that even the most let's say basic things about acting on social media like LinkedIn are not so clear out there for IP experts. So, for example, the question, what are followers? Is it important having lots of followers? Is it important having lots of contacts? Is it better having lots of them? On the one hand, on the other hand, what means engagement? So is it should I have a community, and finally then of course the conversion question, so is that really good for me, and what should I discuss that there? So how it is from your perspective? So what should an IP expert know about these issues of followers, contacts, engagement rates? How do you explain that to IP experts?
That's a good question. I do think size matters, right? So it is, to a certain extent, it is important to have a bigger number of contacts or followers that would be interested in reading what you have to offer. But it all happens then over time. It's an organic growth. And for some of the even partners here at Hoffmann Eitler, when I connected with them on LinkedIn when I joined, some excused and they said like, yeah, Stefan, sorry, but I didn't look at it for a while, so I didn't see that you wanted to connect with me. And I thought, yeah, that's okay. I mean, you have, maybe this is all about priorities, right? When you have sufficient time, you just like put this on the plate and that on the plate, and you just assign a certain amount of time to social media also. But for some, it's just like, this is not my area that I would want to get engaged in too much, and it's difficult to educate them. But it's, of course, it is it is a subject that you cannot ignore anymore. And LinkedIn, you see some people that are very successful on LinkedIn with their posts, but those that are successful, they are typically not only big with numbers of views, but they have a high engagement. And what does it mean is that they receive likes, they receive they receive comments, and at best they comment back, right? So it should be an interaction. But in general, it's true that quality goes over quantity. So the content that you render is more important than getting it in front of many people. They should rather find it relevant what you have to say, and if they show interest and provide feedback, this helps build relationships after all. So, and this is what it's all about. You want to build such relationships, and it's also true that if you have a higher engagement, so likes and comments, there is an algorithmic favor. Not everybody's aware of this, but it happens that your posts get prioritized, and they are displayed to a broader audience, and it extends the reach beyond your immediate network. So this is important to also know that such engagement is relevant. Also, when you have meaningful content that you post, you position as a thought leader in intellectual property, and this is what you really want to achieve, to be recognized. And this again allows you then to interact with prospects, with potential clients, or initiate partnerships. So you're viewed as a credible source of information, and this then leads to the collaboration and the partnership and business growth, which ultimately is the objective of this entire endeavor, right? It's not only about communicating or taking pride in what you have to say. So
Yeah.
yes,
I mean,
both important, but
yeah, yeah.
engagement
I
is
mean,
more important than just
what
views.
my experience is that what many IP experts are not aware about is how others, clients, potential clients, how they behave. Yeah. So that when I get a recommendation from somebody who says this or that attorney is a good one in this or that field for this or that topic, the first thing is that I Google this person. And when in the first or second hit, maybe this guy has an Wikipedia entry. Otherwise, the LinkedIn profile. Even when I am as a searcher, are not a LinkedIn member, I will get a first hit to this person about the LinkedIn profile,
Yeah,
because Google says this is the best source which I have about an individual is the LinkedIn profile.
true.
And first of all, you should have one. Second, it should say something about your your profession, your qualification, your engagement, also your commitment. And this is not just, I mean, yeah, the profile itself, but I see what you're posting. And when you say nothing and nobody's interested in what you're saying, how can you be that kind of superstar and an absolute expert in that field when in this professional network nobody is listening to you, or the other way around, you're not saying anything? I mean,
Mm.
that is the logic of communication, that it goes in both directions. So I have to show something and the others will receive something. And um, and the point is that today, I would say, it is so enormous transparent. Everybody can see it. So my experience is that is somehow strange for some IP experts, that they have such an exposure, and that they can be observed from everybody. I mean, by the way, this is also a problem for my colleagues at the university, for some professors who say, I cannot discuss that with normal people. They are even not students. Why should I discuss a topic? I'm professor. So it's a little bit the same behavior as an IP expert who says, "Oh, why should I communicate and engage? At the end, I'm the expert because I have this training, I have this education."
True, all true. And funnily, I forgot about the fact that there may be people that don't have a LinkedIn account. So, and you see that you find that typically more in Asia. So I also use LinkedIn, and it's a bit off topic of the question that you asked me. But when I look for potential uh, prospects, which I also do on LinkedIn, I would use the LinkedIn Sales Navigator that you can purchase, and you can then filter down on contacts, on leads they call it, and accounts. And you realize when you perform this activity in Asia that often you would miss out on a head of IP because it's just not that prominently available in Asia, and it may also be down to a language barrier. But it's true that in Europe and in the US, it's really the gold standard of business communication uh, as in a social media platform, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that leads us when we talk about, let's say, engagement rate, links, likes, comments. So also I should comment. So not just receiving something, also giving something. I mean, that shows expertise, and that will ultimately, I would say, shape also your feed when LinkedIn, the algorithm is learning what you're saying, what you're liking, what you comment, and that makes it also for the individual much more interesting what I'm learning in my feed. That is a vice versa activity, and so sometimes people ask me, I don't know what I should post. So what kind of content I should share. Um, so is that a problem? I mean, so I don't understand the problem because I'm flooded with extremely interesting content, and I think from my perspective it's always a difficulty to reduce the number of posts because so many things are going on, which I would like to share with others and comment. But let us assume somebody has the opposite feeling. So how can you help? How can you do you make trainings for them, or do you give content? Do you produce actively content like some law firms are doing? So they behave like a movie studio, like a television
Mm.
station, which I think it's also yeah, not really authentic on a social media platform. But what are you doing in that content area?
Mm. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, this is content. We consider it when you speak about content that would run on our corporate profile. That would be mostly marketing content where we share that we have received an award and that we're happy to share that we received such award, but we wouldn't exaggerate. So we are always careful. For instance, we don't use emojis. We decided we don't want to have emojis because the reputation of an IP law firm of the flavor of Hoffmann Eitel is one that it is based on the quality of the work, but not really. It's not like the super modern and I don't know something that you would normally see on Facebook. We wouldn't use Facebook as a social media channel, but there's also maybe to link it to the how to say, like there's a personal um, expert, and that generates a brand around it, and there is a corporate brand also. So the personal expert would need to be trained to use social media, namely LinkedIn. We don't do it today. For some people it comes natural. They just do it and they do it nicely, and you realize they have a certain wit. They have it's slightly funny, it's entertaining, and this is what you expect, right? You don't want to have maybe a heavy subject can also be, but I don't think that social media, even LinkedIn, is there yet to have these channels to discuss, like I don't know, maybe it's not even to be disclosed, but let's say a hearing or a certain case or something that you feel like that you wanted to share with your peer group. You may use other channels, so you keep it on a slightly higher level, and what it generates over time is that it creates followers, and it creates your personal brand, and it influences also the corporate brand, if you like. And what I mean with corporate brand is like the identity, the reputation, the values that you have, maybe the mission, the vision, and from a personal level, it's really how you position and promote yourself as an authority in IP. So it is an opportunity. You establish credibility, trust, recognition, and but this is not nothing that the people embrace easily. So I do believe that this uh, happens over time, and it's also a little bit of fear of missing out, right? This FOMO, and where you feel like I need to be part of LinkedIn, but what shall I do there now? I mean, I have my profile, but I don't want to be neglected. Now I post something and I have 3 likes. I mean, this is it's not enough. I'm not happy with this performance. So the maybe that leads at times to people challenging whether they should post something or anything, and they are rather not. So I think it's a gradual process, and the more often you introduce it, the more likely it gets that people adopt and embrace it.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
not sure.
that's a funny thing because um, so we make also trainings for IP experts on also on the university, and I tend to say when you say you are doing LinkedIn, okay, it's the same thing as you say I'm doing Outlook. What does that means? I mean, yes, you can communicate with others, yes, you can show content, but this is not a meaning per se. It says nothing. It is just a platform, and the question is what you're doing there. That would be interesting. So are you contact with people? Are you interact with them? Do you show them something? Do you want to discuss? Do you prepare an event, and in the preparation of the event you let others know what you're doing, for example? So yeah, you can call it a strategy or a positioning or whatever, but that is de facto the background. And I can only agree what you're saying. The relationship between the corporate brand and obviously social media is not created for corporates. I mean, that's normal that the corporates, European Patent Office or whatever, at the end they behave like a radio station. Yeah. And I discussed that with them again and again, that this is not helpful, that you don't need social media, you don't need LinkedIn to publish a leaflet for an event. I mean, that's ridiculous. You can do it, but it's not relevant. It's not social. It's not social at all. Just shouting to others. Yeah. So say you prepare an event and you are interested. What kind of topics the other would like to hear? So then you interact with them.
Yeah, and I
And
guess this is where you can start promoting such events that you would at times you would run via your corporate channel, but you can promote it personally, and or share company updates or such achievements. Relevance is important, definitely, and you can share
yeah,
it on your personal profile. That makes it then a bit more social. Whether it's really engaging, I would challenge that. So it's not really. What would you comment on such an? Obviously, we just had the Euro law as a conference, and we of course we also posted it, and we said, yeah, I mean we're inviting, and there's going to be interesting subjects discussed, UPC of course, and opting out, and many things like brands on the internet, and like in the metaverse. So there were many subjects, but the engagement was not really like, what do you comment on this, right? You cannot challenge an
Yeah.
agenda. Yeah.
But Stefan, I think that's exactly the point what you said. You said, how can you interact with that content, or how can
Mm.
you make other interact? And that's the thought. I mean,
Mhm.
that is the game changer of social media. That it is not just informing others, because we have so many other mediums we could inform people, but interacting with Australia, South America, Latin America, Great Britain at the same time. So we set up a case study discussion, and this is a LinkedIn live event, and we invite then commenters from United States and from Asia. So things which would be never possible without such a social media platform. And I think that's what you're saying is so important, that people, experts, start not just telling others, so to speak, what is the truth, but also interacting with them and asking what exactly should I offer, that they start to talk with me and to interact, and
Mm.
that is the big difference to other ways of informing people.
Yeah, very right. I do think that the IP industry is not really the early adopter. Is we need a
Obviously
moment.
not.
We It's funny because we're dealing with innovation, that we are not always at the forefront of adopting innovation, but it is a fact. I
Oh,
mean,
really?
yeah, I'm following some of these guys, like I think it's Thorsten Schreiber from African Green Tech. Very interesting how he posts, how he communicates, and how much engagement uh, he creates with his posts. It's really interesting, and it's of course it's a special subject about not related to intellectual property. But yeah, so there are examples where the IP industry can learn from, but frankly, I'm not the IP expert, so personally, even if I'm in the industry for more than 20 years, I wouldn't claim to be the IP expert. I have a good understanding of intellectual property, but I'm still having the commercial view on things. And everything that I would be posting is more related to commercial matters that would be linked to intellectual property, but it's not really the thought leading aspect that you would want to put forward if you represent an IP law firm, and therefore it's more the really the practitioners, the experts that step up and present their expertise, and this is what we're working on. It's a process. And maybe some younger patent attorneys embrace the subject a bit more naturally. These digital natives, how you call them, at my age and at the age of many of the partners, you will be somewhat observer, but of course, how important it is to generate engaging posts and create context from it. Definitely.
So we have a comment from Louis in the chat, and it is about the relationship of the personal expert brand and the corporate brand.
Yeah.
It is so. This is what I'm discussing a lot with law firms, and when we talk about training and improvement of this understanding, what Louis asked is, should at least, so to speak, should at least the individual, let's say, partner, like, comment, react, reshare, whatever content from the firm, or should they stay, so to speak, silent in terms of I don't care what the firm is saying. I am on my feet, completely independent. So what would you recommend?
Yeah, so they are independent. They can do whatever. It's a private account. They can do what they like. But fact of matter is that this personal expert brand is linked and to the corporate brand, and it's somewhat symbiotic. So the corporate brand depends on the personal expert activity. If they stay silent, then of course, if nothing is reshared or liked, then of course the visibility is reduced. But I think what is important is that if you personally post and if you have such uh, contributions that you make available, is that you align with the corporate brand. So if you constantly post things that are off track, I mean, you can do that. You can also post private things if you like. That's possible, and not forbidden. Can be entertaining, but there should be a certain strategy behind it that you mentioned before, for a law firm, what they want to achieve. And the corporate brand and the personal expert brand at best aligns, because that leads to a stronger professional reputation after all. It increases the brand visibility, and more opportunities after all are generated from it. And there is a hopefully also a personal growth, because with all the interactions you learn from others, from peers, but also corporate growth. I mean, that's it. So you need to
And what you say, and excuse me, and what you're saying is, I mean, obviously you started with a claim about Hoffman and Eitler, and you said this law firm has such a great reputation. So that means obviously that every partner and everybody at Hoffman and Eitle benefits from the reputation of that brand. And
definitely.
obviously they are stakeholders and shareholders of such a brand, and have to take care that also on social media this brand is nurtured and supported and also used, yeah,
Mm.
in the right way. I mean, it's at the end they are brand ambassadors. Everybody is an ambassador of the brand,
Yeah.
and everybody can see it. And I would say it's strange when the law firm makes whatever the monkey dance and tries to come up with awards or whatever what they received, and nobody in the law firm takes care about that. So for me, from as an outsider and look at the profiles, that at least should looks a little bit strange. Yeah, so
Yeah, I think it's just personality at times also. Not everybody is an extrovert and believes that the shared content is something that everybody's interested in, and it's something that you learn over time. But it should be an obligation that you support the company values, and you do in practice, but you don't necessarily beat the drum that loud that you say like,
yeah.
look how great we are. So this is what this is not what comes natural to the people.
We
But
are not all Americans.
exactly, it's also something that we are different. I mean, independence of socialization that we received, and but we are, of course, we are learning from each other, and it's kind of balancing. So there is more and more activity that you also see in Europe, but we are a bit more conservative than the Americans, and not that bold. And I mean, I'm not sure about you, but I like to be European whenever I come back to Europe. When I travel abroad, I'm happy to have all the languages and looking for a parking lot and whatever. So all the things that make Europe really special and different. And yes, we are not the first movers, right? So we
No,
look at what's happening
obviously.
from
So
the US social media.
not as Europeans and not as IP guys, and that,
Yeah.
but that is not so in my perspective, that's not uh, a disadvantage. I mean, we can learn from others, we can learn how they behave. Even the legal market is so much ahead compared to the IP world, so that we can also look at that. Even litigation is more ahead than prosecution and so on. So we can observe what's going on, how others behave, and simply from a brand perspective, we cannot ignore the fact. So even when we don't talk about conversion and direct business development and acquisition of clients, whatever, that's a different thing maybe. But simply saying from outside, I have a consistent picture about the law firm and the individual experts, and all what I'm seeing making sense, that they behave as a team, so even that what I can read on the web page, that this is reality. So we take care about our clients. We are interested in what the clients are doing, whatever. And then I look to the IP experts, and I see that none of them is anyhow connected with industry people. So yeah, you really take care, but you don't follow, you're not connected with these people. Strange. Yeah. So simply being consistent is a good thing, and that deserves training, obviously.
Yeah. And you realize who is good at it, right? When you attend a conference and then I don't know, 2 hours later you have a contact request on LinkedIn when you met someone, you realize, okay, somebody took care and is interested in building these business connections and don't let it fade away. So it's some people are more aware of the relevance of the tools, definitely.
Yeah, and so it's a little bit like, I was a week not on LinkedIn. I mean, what does that mean? So typically it's like Outlook. It's the same. I take no notice for 2 weeks for my email. So this is simply something which people would not accept. So how should I communicate with you when you don't check your emails? Yeah. So I switched off my fax. Yeah, wonderful. and
Yeah, yeah.
and so it's a little bit that, sorry for this 2-week delay to answer your LinkedIn comment or your direct message. I'm not really there, or it's nothing which is relevant for us or for me.
Yeah.
I mean, that
I
changes a
follow,
little.
yeah, I follow your analogy, but I would still challenge it to a certain extent, because some communication is bound to due dates, for instance, where you need to really need to perform an action, and this comes typically in via email, whereas LinkedIn is somewhat it needs to be, I guess, needs to be put in perspective. There is no response necessary when I receive a post. If I want to, I can engage and I can comment on it, but it's not really business critical, so to say. But if we miss a
No, I
deadline,
don't want
it
to
is
say that.
business critical. Yeah, yeah.
I don't
So
want to say
it's
that,
mm,
especially not comments, but a direct
mm,
message is something which I direct message to somebody. And
yeah,
I
true.
learned that in Asia, when you work with Asian people, business people, and you don't interact on WhatsApp, for example, or on WeChat, you are nowhere. So they simply expect that you react on your WhatsApp or on
Mm,
WeChat. It's simply,
mm,
this is the communication channel. So
mhm.
you can do two things: you ignore that, and they don't interact with you,
Yeah.
and you stay with the good old, I don't know, email or whatever,
Hmm.
or you do it in the way how it is expected from the others.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah.
is an expectation.
It's a funny anecdote. I spoke with my father. It's a while ago, and he's now in his 80s. So I asked him, so I mean, why are you not interested in using a computer? And he responded by saying, "Why? I have a fax machine. I mean, that's good enough."
And a telephone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Stefan,
receive
thank you.
everything that is important.
Stefan, thank you so much. By the way, thank you for that anecdote, because I asked my father too. He's also in his 80s. No, he's 90 now. He's
Oh
90 now,
wow.
and I asked him, "How did you make business then?" And the same answer. So where's the problem? And yeah, things changed. The speed especially changed. The number of contacts it is a continuous change, and this new work world with this combination of digitalization, distance, and presence. Yeah, we have to deal with it. And a wonderful example for digitalization is, Stefan, that you were here with us, that we have the comments here in the chat. So I ask you, please stay a little bit on the chat and giving some answers when you like to comment that. We have lots of reactions now. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you to the audience. Thank you for your interaction on the chat, and in the after show party we will stay with you and will answer. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Bye bye. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for having me.